This is the last photo of a husband and wife in Asheville, North Carolina, sheltering on a roof from the flood. The roof would soon collapse, causing them and their 6-year-old grandchild to drown.
A matter of life and death for the people of North Carolina. So my name is Jonathan Howard. I'm a member of the Florida State Guard Special Missions Unit, and I'm also up here with Aerial Recovery, a nonprofit. I came up here on Sunday with Aerial Recovery before we even got activated. We flew up here and then we got activated, which is great. I have my team up here working as well. Here's the problem. I'm going to tell you everything that's happening from the ground, what I'm actually seeing, because what they're telling you is complete bullshit on the news, and these politicians don't have a fucking clue and they're lying. And I'll say this now, I'll say it at the end of the video. The only thing I need from this video is helicopters. If I have helicopters, I can save lives. Without helicopters, I can't reach these people. It doesn't matter how many chainsaws and trucks I got, I can't get to them. They're 10 miles in, 20 miles, 40 miles in the mountains. There's no way to get with them or even communicate with them. I am literally flying around in a civilian helicopter looking for SOS messages carved in the mud or painted on the ground, and we're dropping down and saving them. What got me fired up about this was yesterday, me and my team did the rescue of that 11-day-old baby. And all these government officials and social media, they're showing that video, that pictures and video of that rescue, and claiming that like they have some like government help with that. And I mean, even USA, I think it was USA Today, wrote an article about it saying it was a Florida National Guard that went and got it, like with a helicopter. No, it was me, my buddy Charlie, and a civilian named Zeb with his own personal helicopter out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Like without that civilian, that baby would be dead. And the old lady we went and rescued after that, she'd be dead too because she had 1 day left of oxygen. No one was going to go get them. I will tell you, when we go up in the air, I probably see 40 civilian helicopters, and I might see 2 Blackhawks, National Guard, military, whatever they are. That's it. No one's out there doing rescues. I have my entire team up here from Florida right now, and they have no ability to go rescue these people other than what they can drive to. And the people that are in dire need, they're out in the mountains. They are completely cut off. Now, I will say, I spoke to my congresswoman down in Florida, and she's a badass, and she made a bunch of phone calls, and now we got 2 contracted 60s coming up here tomorrow, which is great. I love that, but like, I still don't understand why we don't have more helicopters. Like, we'll get a lot of work done with that, but there's there's no military, no one's doing nothing. It blows my mind. And they're not even allowing people to see what's really going on. One of our friends yesterday, they were actually escorting CNN down at Lake Lure, and they wouldn't even let CNN, the sheriff department would not let them go videotape the bad areas, how destructive it is. I don't know why they don't want to show you all that, but I mean, it is bad. I should also say, When I flew here on Sunday, they actually stopped us from going in, the sheriff department. And it was because of a bunch of politics that they were claiming was a Speaker of the House of North Carolina that was preventing us from even going in and trying to kick us out, which I have clarified today with North Carolina politicians that reached out to me, good on them, and they were like, that's complete bullshit. Speaker of the House has nothing. He wants you guys there. But this is the kind of political BS that is happening here right now. Like, everyone's trying to be in charge without taking any type of action. Nobody wants to coordinate with anybody. Everybody wants to pretend like they're being the hero while these people are literally fucking dying in the mountains. And these people, like I'm saying, these people are limited medication. They're running out of oxygen, and there's no one going to get them. The most effective way I have found to go find these people is by getting in a helicopter and flying down the rivers and roads and looking for SOS messages or people waving us down. And then we drop down and get them. We have all these people here. We have law enforcement, we have State Guard, National Guard. They have no way to go get these people. Yesterday, when I was at the Asheville airport refueling, which, by the way, the civilian is paying all this out of his own pocket. He's not even looking for a reimbursement. I think we did 4 refuelings yesterday. And that was like just in half a day's work. We're in Asheville, and I saw 2 Air Force helicopter 60s. And I knew they were PJs just looking at them. And I went up to them, I'm like, hey guys, like, what are y'all doing? And like, this is what you need to be doing. This is how I'm finding people. And they're like, we can't go. We're waiting on Title 10 orders. And I'm like, what? They can't get any authority. There's military helicopters all over here sitting on the ground, and they can't do nothing. Even my JSOC boys in Fayetteville, they can't get orders to come out here. It is just the most disgusting thing, and they're killing these people. And I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know what kind of conspiracy. I've heard so many things, whatever you want to come up with, but they are literally allowing these people to fucking die in the mountains right now because we can't get helicopters. They got money for everything else in the fucking world right now, but if they could just get us helicopters, we could fly out there and rescue these people. So I hope this video goes viral. I hope these politicians get fired. I hope people get pissed off. They'll probably kick me out of the state of North Carolina for doing this, but you know what? I don't care, because if I can save one more life for it, it's fucking worth it to me.
Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam. Firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just the result of natural processes and climate patterns, or was it manipulated? The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NEXRAD network of transmitter installations. All available science evidence makes clear that atmospheric frequency transmissions can and do have a repelling effect on air masses, especially if and when the air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions. So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered? You decide.
We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, or we just accept it. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected, so I'm fighting all these.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here and start the conversation with Judy, and then I can take some of your questions.
I just watched a video of a guy asking Alexa about Hurricane Helene, and I want to try for myself. So let's see what Alexa says about it. Hey Alexa, was Hurricane Helene artificially manipulated?
From egettalk.com. To reduce the amount that can be paid out as compensation, Hurricane Helene was then artificially created, just like cloud seeding used to control and manipulate the weather, to flood and devastate those places and crash the value of land there.
Huh. How about that? Well, the more you know. Cheers.
Beneath the quiet Appalachian town of Spruce Pine, North Carolina, lies a hidden treasure. Quartz so pure it has the potential to change the world. This ultra-high purity quartz is a cornerstone for the global tech industry, especially in the production of semiconductors, a fact that has sparked conspiracies and controversies over control, power, and even survival. But what makes this seemingly ordinary mineral so extraordinary? It's estimated that the quartz in spruce pine supplies 70 to 90% of the world's semiconductor-grade quartz. Without it, the production of smartphones, laptops, medical devices, and even solar panels could grind to a halt. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Due to its global importance, the region's quartz has become the target of foreign interest, leading to concerns about national security. In 2024, North Carolina lawmakers moved to ban foreign ownership of these critical quartz mines, particularly from adversary nations like China and Russia. Some claim that secret attempts have already been made to control this resource through land purchases and trespassing incidents, sparking fears of a larger conspiracy. And the stakes are rising. Global demand for this quartz is surging with the AI boom, and the United States isn't taking any chances. There are whispers that the quartz found here is so unique in its purity that it can't be found anywhere else on Earth. If that's true, then control over this resource could determine the future of technological dominance. The Quartz Corp and Sibelco, two companies that run the operations, have tightened their grip, with investments reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. But nature has its own plans. Hurricane Helene recently devastated spruce pine, halting production and raising concerns about the fragility of this crucial supply chain. A single road connects the mines to the world, and any disruption could send shockwaves through the global tech industry. What if a natural disaster wipes out this resource entirely? What would happen to the global tech giants that rely on it? The deeper question is, why this quartz? How did this tiny town become the linchpin of the world's semiconductor production? As global powers vie for control of this essential mineral, one thing is clear. Spruce Pine's quartz isn't just a rock. It's the foundation of our technological future.
I wanted to do this video to tell you that things like FEMA, HARP, and they can control the weather are trending right now on places like Twitter. And while we usually would look at this and say that it's a good thing because people are becoming aware of what the government is doing and can do, there's actually a major disinformation campaign created by the government being pushed out there. And I'm going to show you what that is and who the players are involved in it, as well as some of the new wording they're trying to use to convince people that the things happening with the climate are in fact because of carbon emissions, when the reality is everything happening with the climate and all these weird weather patterns are because they're steering and controlling the weather. They've been able to do this since the 1900s, the early 1900s. We've heard JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson talk about weather control, weather modification. I've used those clips many times in the past. But I want to start with this, because what they're doing is they're allowing this to trend online. And it's people's Alexas where people are asking them if the hurricane was weather modification. And people don't realize that the Alexas can be programmed to repeat what the person recording it can say. So people are doing this and putting it out there so that people go crazy. They expect people like me to jump in and say, oh my gosh, the Alexa's telling us what's really going on. And what this does is it blurs the lines, because the majority of people see this. They know that the Alexas can be programmed to repeat what somebody says, and then it makes us look even crazier, and it makes us look like we'll fall for anything, right? So they're making this viral on purpose, along with a few other things, because they're trying to blur the lines as quickly as they can, because people are starting to become suspicious about what just happened with Hurricane Helene, the number of deaths that is being reported, the stuff going on with FEMA not allowing civilians to help other civilians, saying, hey, we've got this under control. When you're talking about human lives being at stake, and everybody, it should be all hands on deck. And the government is deliberately not allowing people to go in there and help other people because they claim they've got it under control and they're only reporting what they want to report. But this is the stuff with Alexa. Let's start here. They want stuff like this to go viral because this will give the complete brain dead zombies out there, who the only thing they actually understand are things like their Alexa and their PlayStation and their Xbox. It'll give them this to use to say, look, all these idiots are believing what the Alexa's saying. It's been programmed to say it, and they fell for it. So don't fall for these.
Hey Alexa, did the government use cloud seeding for Hurricane Helene?
Yes, the U.S. government did use cloud seeding during Hurricane Helene. Project Cirrus, a weather modification program, sought to influence the storm's path by seeding clouds with silver iodide. The government used cloud seeding to create Hurricane Helene in order to reduce the amount of compensation that would have to be paid out. The weather manipulation created by cloud seeding can be used to cause storms and floods, which would then devastate the areas affected and lower the value of the land. To reduce the amount that can be paid out as compensation, Hurricane Helene was then artificially created, just like cloud seeding used to control and manipulate the weather, to flood and devastate those places and crash the value of land there.
Alexa, did North Carolina use cloud seeding during Hurricane Helene?
Yes. North Carolina has been cloud seeding during Hurricane Helene. Scientists injected silver iodide into the hurricane wall to steer the hurricane in another direction.
Oh my goodness.
So again, everything the Alexa is actually saying is true, but these videos are being sabotaged. They're being put out there deliberately to make people like us look crazy because they're going to come out and say, hey, you know, these people are making the Alexa say it, and then people like Rebel Call and these others are falling for it, right? Then the other thing that they're doing right now is they're pushing out Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because again, they know when they put something from Marjorie Taylor Greene out there that every single person who is a Democrat will discredit anything along the lines of what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. That's part of the role that Marjorie Taylor Greene is playing in Congress. She's playing the conspiracy character in Congress. She's completely unlikable. Nobody likes her. I don't even think the conservatives like her. At any time there's something going on that people are getting suspicious of, they have Marjorie Taylor Greene say something about it so that every single Democrat out there politicizes it and then discredits it. So Marjorie Taylor Greene says, yes, they can control the weather, which is true. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say that it can't be done. So every single Democrat out there is looking at this as a political thing. They're looking at it as a crazy conspiracy thing because Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying it. And what people like me are trying to do is get people out of the left-right paradigm, getting them removed from it, realizing that civilians are under attack from Republicans and Democrats working together, dividing us and conquering us, right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene in the past, they've used her to say things like Jewish space lasers. Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about directed energy weapons and discrediting the truth behind directed energy weapons because everybody out there hears her say this and they automatically think that it's not only a crazy conspiracy, they refuse to even investigate it because they hate Marjorie Taylor Greene so much, because they've been trained to hate these actors in Congress. So when they go out there and say these things, they'll automatically check it off as nut job stuff, and they don't even want to research it because they hate the people who are saying it so much. And that's the role that Marjorie Taylor Greene is playing. So we have FEMA, we have HARP, and we have they can control the weather trending. And then these are the stories they want to intercept everybody looking into these truths, right? They're getting filled with this. So then the reaction that comes is people out there saying, oh my gosh, these people are falling for the Alexa. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a moron. They can control the weather. Current conditions, she's still a moron. Forecast, moron with a bigger chance of moron, right? Corny jokes. They have this whole thing with MAGA eating the dogs, eating the cats, right? They're politicizing this. And half the country actually thinks that it's crazy. Like then you have people saying stuff like, well, if they can control the weather, there's no excuse for it not to snow every year on Christmas. Ha ha ha. Right? Is it funny? Do people crack jokes when mass murderers kill their family members? Is that funny to these types of people? Is it hilarious if one of your family members was a victim of some type of catastrophic event at a school? Oh, right. For us to talk about those events and say that they're not real, well, that's just, that's ridiculous. But for us to say that the weather, it can be manipulated, can be controlled, and if you're wondering about HARP and you're thinking to yourself, well, HARP, okay, it's a stretch with what? With chemtrailing? Think about those towers that are all popped up around us that can steer these things. These 5G towers are not just radiation boxes. They have the ability to steer the weather now wherever they want to steer it. And they're going to continue to do it. And we already see that there's more hurricanes popping up. Now, one of the other things that I've noticed with patterns this week is this use of terminology of weird weather. And it makes me kind of wonder if they're actually listening to my content. Now, I know that they're not, although they obviously know who I am. But as they continue to dwindle my audiences down month after month after month, it makes it nearly impossible to wake people up to what's going on. Now, while there's small awakenings happening like this, you'll probably see the alt-right media intercept weather modification and try to bring about the topic of FEMA not helping conservative states, because that's as far as they'll go with this. FEMA not helping conservative states because FEMA works with the DOJ. That's the stuff that they want out there. Not that these 5G towers can steer the weather, that HAARP's actually real, geoengineering, which we've all been screaming about for years and years and years, that nobody cares about, that nobody says anything about, and nobody in politics ever bring attention to, right? So weirding the weather is the latest thing that they're starting to say. J.D. Vance just said it at the vice presidential debate. He started talking about weird, strange weather patterns, right? And now, not just him, Don Cheadle, the actor, also mentioned this recently on the propaganda show Late Night with Stephen Colbert. Listen.
A lot of people are justifiably worried about all these crazy weather patterns. I think it's important for us, first of all, to say Donald Trump and I support clean air, clean water. We want the environment to be cleaner and safer. But one of the things that I've noticed some of our Democratic friends talking a lot about is a concern about carbon emissions, this idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. Well, let's just say that's true, just for the sake of argument, so we're not arguing about weird science.
The real term that we should be using is climate weirding, because we're going to keep seeing things like this.
So that's the latest thing we're starting to hear. Weird weather, weirded climate, weirding patterns, and this and that. To try to explain away anybody out there that might be finding content like this, where I'm just trying to get you at ground zero here and say, look, these are not normal weather patterns according to even what they tell us, right? They're telling us that this is how the jet stream works. This is what they've told us forever. And now storms are going completely against the jet stream. So they're coming out and they're going, well, you're noticing that it's a weird weather pattern, but don't worry, we can explain it to you, right? And I want to play for you this clip from Don Cheadle in full almost from Stephen Colbert. And Don Cheadle is an actor. If you don't know Don Cheadle, he's not a big famous actor, but they do roll him out, of course, just like every other actor. He's a Democrat because he's a communist agent. Right, and we've seen Don Cheadle doing the 666 sign, not hiding his allegiance to secret societies, holding the finger up over his mouth multiple times, right? What's the big secret, Don? Big secret, you broke wind like every other celebrity that puts their finger up over their mouth, right? That is, of course, the vow of secrecy that they take. Don Cheadle does the all-seeing eye symbolism many times over. And here he is, and of course, you'll hear the dumbed-down audience stand and cheer, just like one of those videos I covered on Bill Gates, right? They bring these guys out. They don't even know what they're talking about. And they just cheer for him. And Don Cheadle comes out and, oh man, you're such a great philanthropist, Don. You're a member of the United Nations. Nobody out there suspicious as to how an actor in Hollywood who lies in film is actually a member of the United Nations and a speaker for climate, kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio and Ryan Reynolds and all these celebrities. They care so much about the climate, right? Their job is to convince you that what's happening is from carbon emissions. That's what their job is, because they don't want you to realize that the government is manipulating and has been manipulating the weather. They want you to believe those old wives' tales that they used to tell us about. You can't do anything about Mother Nature, can't control Mother Nature. Well, in fact, they can, and they have been. And you could research all the patents the government has, which I've shown you over the years. You could research Operation Popeye, creating monsoons in the Vietnam War. This is all stuff that's legit. That's legit that they have the ability to do. And they've even openly talked about cloud seeding to create rain in places like Dubai. But these people cannot wrap their heads around any of this stuff because they're too busy cheering and drooling over people like Don Cheadle. So here's Don Cheadle on Colbert. Keep in mind, he talks about, for those of you that like to talk about the shape of the earth, he even goes in a little mention about that, how everything's trapped inside here and it can't go anywhere and we're stuck on this earth. And he also goes into detail about the sustainable goals, because that's what this is really about. Here he is talking about the weird weather pattern, how we better get used to it. And what we could do about it is, we can follow the sustainable goals from him and his friends at the UN, which are goals to change your behavior and enslave you to live like a prisoner. Listen.
Spoke at the UN. You've been an Environment Program Goodwill Ambassador from 2010. What do you do? That's a lovely thing to do with your time.
And really try to make sure that people pay attention to what's happening. The real term that we should be using is climate weirding, because we're going to keep seeing things like this. It's storms going out of control here. It's just more about how that's going to cycle around the planet. Nothing can escape because of space. It's just moving around in different places and becoming extreme in places that can't handle it. And that's why we're seeing all these things happen. Going to, be accelerated if we don't get on these sustainable goals. Trying to continue to raise the alarm and keep people focused on it and supporting candidates who believe in it.
So that's Don Cheadle. And again, this is all about behavioral control, right? Remember Larry Fink talking about behavioral control? What he's talking about with behavioral control is controlling your every move, your day-to-day life. And people out there don't realize that's what they're doing. That's what the sustainable goals is. It's via technology monitoring and tracking your every movement and telling you that they're doing it because they're trying to make sure that everybody's carbon emissions are low so that we don't get hit with hurricanes and we don't get hit with tornadoes, all things that they're doing deliberately by design. They're killing people with weather and they're blaming it on carbon emissions so that you change how you live because they want you to live like a prisoner. There are not enough cells to throw us all in jail. Thus, they're going to force us by manipulating us into changing how we live, which means eating less meat, which means that we're all living on equal income, which has nothing to do with your skin color. What it has to do with is all of us being slaves to the global elites. How many clothes you can wear per year, how much you could buy per year, how many showers you could take per year, how often you could leave your house every day. This is all a lot of time. That's behavioral control. And that's what the sustainable goals are. So while all this stuff is happening, people like me are just trying to warn fellow civilians. But the thing I've warned about for years is how they've built up so many narcissists in our society. So the majority of narcissists out there are okay with what the government's doing. There's actually people out there that see this stuff about weather control. They hit that first barrier that I just showed you, right? What? Weather control? They see Marjorie Taylor Greene tweets. They automatically just go, oh, this is just a crazy thing. I'm not even going to invest my time in looking into it, right? Which is the purpose of having Marjorie Taylor Greene go viral. Then they see the Alexas talk about it and they go, oh, wow, that's strange. Then they realize, well, wait, you could program the Alexa to say that. So conspiracy nuts are so desperate that they're programming their Alexa and then they just stop at those walls that appear in front of them. But then you have these unhinged people. You have people out there that are so psychotic and so narcissistic that they put stuff like I'm about to show you out there, where they talk about these people who are killed, who lost their children, who lost their lives. And they openly talk about how they prayed and they're so glad that God wiped these people out and their homes out and their families out because these are conservative states. This is what they've done to humanity. This is all via your government's mind control experiments and operations. They're not really experiments anymore. Experiments that are alive. This is what they've done to people. They have made people talk like this unhinged person who, again, if this was us talking about a school event, oh my gosh, they would want us to get sued for everything we have. They'd want us to be thrown in jail. And here they are celebrating, saying, well, you know what? I'm just glad that a lot of these conservative states are getting wiped out. This is the mindset these people have. So even if they realize that weather modification is real, they hate people of the opposite political party so much that they don't even care if the government does this to their own civilians.
So when I seen the hurricane hit North Carolina and Tennessee, the first thing I thought was, damn, there goes some racists. There we go, we got some gone. And then I just seen this video that like the area it hit is like sundown town after sundown town after sundown town, and they are just completely flattened and gone. And I was like, God's work. God's work.
So that's psychopath. It's okay for them to talk like that, right? I mean, this is what we have because of what the government has done. This is why I get so irate. Because the left-right is what feeds into this. The left-right is what causes people like that to actually tweet out to the world or post this on their Instagram or their TikTok and say, hey, you know what? There's all these racists in these states. How do you know what's in what state? Racism is a construct that the government's created. They've programmed you into all the racial stereotypes. They've programmed people to be racist. They're the ones responsible for all of it. And the biggest racists are the people who are doing all of this to all of us. And you know what race they hate? The human race. That's the collective thinking that they all have. They hate everybody. They don't care if you're black or white or Hispanic. They hate all of us, and they keep us divided with these things that they create, these barriers that they create between us so that we're constantly fighting with each other while they're the ones who are doing it to us. And then people like that go out there and they go, you know, there's all these racists in places like Tennessee and places like North Carolina and South Carolina. And I'm just glad that God intervened and God did this to those people. That's how sick this has gotten. Because even if this gets exposed, this is how bad the hypnosis is. Even if these people suddenly realize that weather modification, weather control is real, even if everybody learns this, there are people out there who will say, good. Instead of saying, you know what? Whoa, this is sick. Why am I so invested in the left, right? Why would I actually care so much about a red state and this happening to people I don't even know? Because the government's programmed you to feel that way. The government is literally programming people into Manchurian candidate psychopaths who literally would probably carry these acts out themselves and will in the future when told to do so during a government-created civil war. But they're sitting back and they're actually okay with it because they're happening in red state. This is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. This is how sick this hypnosis is. It's frightening, absolutely frightening. And what's the cause of it? Well, the government's the cause of it, but the left-right paradigm makes people hate one another so much by design that they have a mindset like that, which is the mindset of a psychopath. We have got to pull people out of this. Donald Trump, they're like, you know, most of these conservatives are like, well, when he gets back in, he's going to take care of FEMA. Oh, yeah, Donald Trump knows all about weather modification. Oh, yeah? Never drain the swamp. Who's responsible for the rush to 5G and 6G? Donald Trump is. So maybe these people should start understanding that those are weather modification towers as well as radiation ports. The microwave emissions that come out of that can steer and direct these storms. Why do you think they're doing it now and they didn't do it 10 years ago? Because these towers weren't up. And why did these towers have to go up during the outbreak? So nobody would notice it. Everybody would be in hysteria about that and about masks and about what the government was doing there. And they would miss the fact that right up the road on every single farm, these towers are sitting. And now all of a sudden there's a hurricane every week going in bizarre directions like spaghetti monsters. And everybody out there is just going, oh yeah, well, I guess the climate change is real. Yeah, it's real, all right. I'll tell you what's real. The government is assaulting, attacking, and killing civilians. They are ruining their lives. They are flooding them out. They are stealing their resources. They are making sure that anybody that's stored food supplies, that they're coming in with FEMA and taking them, while we all sit back and do what? Say we're going to go vote in October? Disengage. Those towers, that needs to be the topic of conversation. Those towers, people need to be going to local towns. They need to come down. Where did people give the authority for the government to put these towers up if they're up for Verizon and they're up for AT&T, right? That's what we're told. The towers are there for our phones, right? Which would mean what? Okay, who are the phone carriers? Who gave them authority to put those up? Oh, you're going to tell me that on state highways? Who owns the highways? Don't the people own the highways? Who gave them the authority to put these things up at every X amount of feet or, miles apart in every state across the earth? Who gave them authority? Nobody did. Nobody did. But they don't want you to think like that because they tell you that that's just there for your phone. What do you want to live without your phone? That's what they'll tell you. Oh, yeah, we take the towers down, then you aren't going to be able to go on your phone. And you're not going to be able to listen to music as fast. It's going to go back to the way it was with dial-up. That's the illusion they've created. Meanwhile, no one's even noticed the difference between 4G and 5G. I don't go on the cell phone, right? I don't have one handy on me, okay? But I'll tell you right now, nobody out there has noticed a difference. Between everything I've read online, everyone I've talked to, no one's noticed a difference. That's why some of the propaganda out there is them saying we need to go to 6G. And people are like, wait, we need to go 6G. What was the difference between 4 and 5? And they go, oh, well, now we promise you're going to see a change when we go to 6G. So people are like, oh, okay. They were like, it was disappointing. The change wasn't as big. Well, the towers all went up. So that's all that really matters, right? And they want you to think it's for your phone to go faster. So for you to have service, so you don't have, those Verizon commercials that programmed you into, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? They're going to scare you into thinking that you can't even use a phone anymore. Meanwhile, nobody should be using a phone. Because ever since the cell phone's become a normal thing in everybody's day-to-day lives, everybody's become miserable. Everybody's become a mouthpiece. Everybody's become a nuisance to one another. Everybody hates each other. Ever since the phones have come out, that's what humanity has become. And they've done that all by design. I needed to rant about all this stuff. I can't even believe that I'm listening to people out there. I never thought it would get to a point when I started trying to wake people up. My mindset was always like, if I can get them to listen to this and see that they're capable of doing it. I never ever thought that the left-right would have such a grip over people because it wasn't like this 10 years ago. It wasn't like this. And I realized when they started cleaning out When they're talking about draining the swamp, they're actually talking about draining the ocean of all of the truth that was out there. And they put a swamp in place to keep people stuck in the left-right. So all these people who are waking up to what was really going on jumped into bed with the alt-right and the Daily Wire and everything else, and they're fueled by this war between Republicans and Democrats. Because they're going back and forth, gaslighting one another 24/7. I never in my life would have thought we'd be talking about HARP openly. We'd be talking about weather modification. And there'd be people out there who say, well, maybe it is real, maybe it's not real, but let them target the red states. That's what we've gotten to. That's literally what we've gotten to. It's frightening and it's sickening. But we're living among a lot of sickening people and pathetic people. And of course, the majority of people out there taking this as a joke until it happens to them, right? And when it does happen to them, they'll refuse to believe that it was the government. In fact, when it does happen to them, they'll actually finally, most of these atheists will probably believe that it's God and then blame him for it. Because that's how most of them operate. They refuse to believe that their government is doing this. Your government corporation is responsible for it. Everybody needs to disengage. The towers, let's start there. Let's start there because, again, they want the mindset to be that we need to protest, we need to riot. Those do nothing. And I have never called for anything like that or any violence ever on my channel. I never will because it won't do anything. Your participation is what they need. That's why they're so obsessed with you getting involved in the left-right. That's why they're obsessed with you going to vote for whatever side you vote for. They know with all the stuff that they're doing that they're baiting conservatives, all the liberals are all, Hollywood celebrities constantly saying the things that they're saying, like, oh, we need somebody in office who's going to do something about the climate. Everybody cheers during the Don Cheadle speech, right? They need you engaged and participating. They need you when you go to places where there's flood zones. They need you backing down to FEMA. That's what they want you to, FEMA's in control. Instead of everybody left and right going, screw you. This isn't a government thing. This is a human thing, and humans should be helping humans. Who are you to say I can't bring them water? Oh, it's too dangerous for me to go down there? Like you need a babysitter to go help people survive? To go feed somebody, it might save their life. You need a babysitter to tell you. Well, most of the Democrats do because they're communists. They need the government to hold their hand when they take a leak because they can't do anything on their own. They're adult children. Haven't you noticed? That's what communists are. And in today's world, have you noticed? That's what woke Democrats are. It's unbelievable what they've done. People out there need to disengage. You need to realize the left-right is the trap. That's why I put the clip in there of that unhinged lunatic laughing about what happened to all these innocent people, as if it couldn't happen to her or happen to her family or somebody else's family. And it will. It will happen. And people are now looking at these things like political things because they're so invested in their game. And that's what they've wanted from the get-go. They want your participation and your consent via vote. Come out of her before it's too late.
Have y'all noticed the similarities between Lahaina and Maui and what's going on in North Carolina and Tennessee with officials stopping people that want to come in with help and supplies and telling them they can't, they're turning them away, making them go away, and like they don't want to assist the people in the area. They're told to block it and let it fester. So is this another land grab? Lahaina, them people still can't go back in. It's like, okay, the administration wanted that land. Is that what's going on here? Are they wanting that land? You hear that one of the biggest lithium mining areas in the world is located in that area. Are they trying to get the people out of there so that they can take control of that? This is all just food for thought and theory, but why would local sheriffs and stuff be turning away help? People coming in with supplies and stuff and making them turn around and leave. So it just doesn't make sense. I feel like this is another land grab, and it's just not going to be pretty. These people are displaced, and they're going to be probably not going back there, and that's what they want to make sure happens, so that they can grab this land and have it for themselves. So anyhow, y'all tell me what you think in the comments, but the similarities between what happened in Hawaii and what's happening here are pretty incredible.
All right, guys, I wanted to make this video just a quick moment to address something. Now, I'm not saying this is happening, first of all. This is what other people are speculating and alleging, but you can go ahead and go look at this. The DoD enters agreement to expand domestic lithium mining for U.S. battery supply chains. People are thinking this is a Maui Part 2. People are thinking that this is a Maui Part 2, what's happening in certain areas of North Carolina because of their certain minerals, in particular lithium there. I'm just going to play a couple videos. I'm just putting it out there into the ether, into the internet. You guys go ahead, do more research. I thought it was a little interesting. I mean, we've been seeing so many videos, and I've been posting so many videos on here showing how FEMA is responding, not responding. We spoke with Dennis, a guy from Asheville who had to escape, who saw locals helping. Everybody's talking about how the locals are helping, using their private helicopters to go. They're being told to stand down, but they're going anyway. And there's just a lot of weird stuff going down. 5 months ago, this video came out on the local news in North Carolina.
Is one step closer to making its Gaston County mining operation a reality. The company says North Carolina has approved its mining permit, but the biggest hurdle to get the project over the finish line could still be on the horizon. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us now, and Destiny neighbors say they have some real concerns.
And it's like out of a movie, you know, big corporation comes into small town. Small town says, no, we don't want you here. Big corporation has billions, but still the people win because their voices are heard until somebody within the government or within the local community turns their back on the community to help out the corporation by doing something shady. That way the corporation can get in there and get the minerals. Meanwhile, the locals are going to have to go elsewhere. No, but seriously, I mean, this is a reality that's anyway, this is real news right here.
Yeah, Piedmont Lithium is promising hundreds of jobs and billions of dollars in economic impact, but there are people living in Gaston County who are worried about the mine's impact on the environment. Now, people living here in Cherryville have been fighting against plans for a lithium mine for years. They say those pushing back are part of a silent majority, afraid to say anything publicly because of the money Piedmont Lithium brings into the town. The company's CEO, Keith Phillips, released a statement yesterday saying it plans to develop Carolina Lithium as one of the lowest cost, most sustainable lithium hydroxide operations in the world and as a critical part of the American electric vehicle supply chain. There are several steps left before the mine can begin operation, but some people worry it's a done deal for Gaston County.
Environmentally, I just don't feel like it's good for us. They've done so much investment now that I think that it's going to go through.
And Piedmont Lithium tells us there are still other permits left to obtain, and it also needs to file a rezoning petition still with Gaston County before the mine can officially open.
And then you have people on TikTok making videos like this.
North Carolina does not sit well with me. I think something's going on. So I decided to do some digging. So the first thing I find out is North Carolina has the richest deposits of lithium in the entire world. Yeah, lithium for like cars, batteries, all that. Then I find out they have the world's highest purity quartz deposits. And that quartz just so happens to be the world's supply for AI chips, microchips, and all kinds of stuff. We're talking a $530 billion industry. So this is where it gets interesting. So a company by the name of Piedmont Lithium is awaiting a state mining permit for a site in northern Gaston County. And Gaston County is completely flooded right now. The project was awaiting zoning approval because they were getting backlash from the residents and also city officials. And this lithium mine they want would be the third largest producer of lithium in the world. And they made a deal with Tesla already. Now remember the quartz? So in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, right next to Ashland, they are wanting to expand their mines even larger. And the residents aren't having it either. Enter the floods. People, these are mountain towns. It rarely, if not ever, floods in the mountains. I would know, I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, which means none of these people have flood insurance. I mean, the media is saying biblical devastation in North Carolina. AKA like the worst thing that could happen. And you're not coming back from it. Read between the lines, people. Everything happens for a reason.
Says shit that one of the areas affected by Hurricane Helene is the world's largest lithium deposit, and the DoD just entered into an agreement with this company right here to mine lithium for electric cars starting in 2025. Now that area is completely devastated. This is a $90 million agreement between the DoD and this company right here to get Kings Mountain, North Carolina lithium mine up and running by 2030. If that area has been inundated, is in a disaster zone, then the government can come in and do eminent domain, and they can pay you what it was worth 5 years ago rather than what it's worth right now. Imagine that your home has turned into a watery lot and the government comes to you and says, hey, I'll pay you what you paid for it. You're gonna take it and you're gonna go, right? What do you think is going to happen right here now that they want this lithium mine up and running by 2025, 2030 at the latest? Back in 1947, we had the Florida-Georgia hurricane, or Hurricane 9, and it was the first hurricane to be targeted for weather modification. What happened was General Electric, the U.S. Navy, the Army, the Air Force, they poured dry ice into this hurricane using airplanes to see what would happen. Would they slow it down? Well, what happened was it slowed down a little bit, but it turned west really sharp. Let me show you. This is the path that the hurricane took in 1947. Does it look similar to you? Probably not. It's a coincidence, right? Moving on. I'm sure this is just another coincidence, but do you know who owns the most shares in that lithium mine? BlackRock and Vanguard.
No time to waste here. Did you know that the United States has multiple patents on how to steer and control hurricanes and tornadoes? Yes, this is very real and it's backed by sources, as well as our own NOAA website, which discusses weather manipulation and what steps you or I would have to take in order to do our own weather manipulation. My friends, this is no joke. Many people believe that weather manipulation was used for Hurricane Helene, then somehow coincidentally stalled over the rare lithium producing towns of Western North Carolina, which is the exact location of the largest lithium deposit we have in the United States. Now, something to keep in mind while moving forward, ever since we left Afghanistan, we have lost the ability to mine lithium there, where most of it used to come from. Now we are stuck having to fill this insane demand we have for this lithium right here in the United States. Once again, the largest deposit being right over the towns that just got completely destroyed by this hurricane. Alright, so before I tie this all up with this lithium situation, this video you're looking at right now went super viral over the last few days. We have over 3 million views on this clip here, where we are talking about these weird anomalies that were taking place right before landfall of Hurricane Helene. There's a lot of controversy about what's going on here, but these things pointed directly to where we saw landfall. Not only that, but we saw some weird scalar looking beams in there, a lot of weird stuff that we were breaking down, and it's causing a lot of talk about this situation, which is the point here. We've already established that weather manipulation exists, but I want you to take a look at this website from 2007, my friends. That's 17 years ago. And it came out from the Telegraph. It says, "Scientists a step closer to steering hurricanes." Now, in this article, they explain how they are using technology in order to control, manipulate, and steer these types of storms, including tornadoes. So when you take things like this, and you also add these patents that have been out for decades, you begin to see a picture being painted of what is really going on. Now, this isn't to say that every bit of weather is manipulated and controlled. It means that they have the capability of doing this, and it's right in your face. Now, I can't say for sure that Hurricane Helene was controlled by this type of technology, but it certainly looked like it was, and it certainly did epic, record-breaking damage that we have not seen in any of our lifetimes. So this will come down to you making your own conclusions and taking the data and making your own educated decisions on what you're seeing. We are in a place in history where it's almost impossible to be able to trust our own media or government, and I don't need to go over explanations on why that is. So now that we have all these steps in place, think about the situation as a whole. This wild hurricane comes barreling towards Florida, and we suspected that once this thing got close to land, it would rapidly intensify, and that's exactly what it did. And in my opinion, the reason that happened is because once it got close enough to our NEXRAD radar towers, it was then able to be influenced, as I've shown in many videos. tornadoes. All right, now finally, I just want to conclude with this. 1 year ago, almost to the day, as you can see in this article, North Carolina lithium mine to reopen with $90 million Pentagon order to help increase U.S. production. My friends, if this is not screaming to you right now, I don't know what else can. Just take a look at how much lithium we've used year to year up to 2024, and then once again ask yourself, what are the chances that this flood takes place in the biggest spot in the United States that we can even mine this stuff? My friends, the information's there, it's been there, and if you don't go check it out now, it might not be there forever. I appreciate you all. I'm praying for every single person affected by this storm. What we are seeing out there is absolute tragedy, and it seriously makes my heart break. All right, everyone, until the next video, I will talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Damn. All right, that's enough internet for me today, folks.
And remember, kids, the next time that somebody tells you the government wouldn't do that, oh yes they would.
Tornado, spin around, do the tornado, spin around, do the tornado, spin around, do the tornado. Meteorology is the study of the weather. If we look at the climate, we can predict it much better. Warm fronts, cold fronts, lightning and thunder. To find the temperature, you can use a thermometer. Hurricanes form in the warm ocean water, the most powerful storm when compared to any other. Tornadoes are smaller, but the damage can be greater. A watch means it's possible, a warning, take cover. Hey, the weather is the state of